안녕하세요 from Korea. I'm in Gapyeon now. So if you ever think of going overseas, internationalization scheme, 400% deductions for you. But you gotta spend the money to come overseas. You never know what you're gonna get like this. So you need to come overseas, spend some money to investigate the place, to know more about the place, to know more about the people, their taste, to find business partners, and to just get to know the surrounding before you actually start to invest in the country. And but more importantly, you have to have an overall strategy before you start on your journey overseas. But in this day and age of AI, and in this day of age of globalization, whereby countries are getting more isolated and they are not going to trade with anyone, they're not going to trade with everybody. So it's more important for you to find the right partners now. It's best that you go to the country, meet up with people, and talk to the people there. And even you can go through, like ASME, go through your professional bodies, or even talk to your suppliers overseas. So the government's aim for is a wasted opportunity if you don't use this time, because AI is going to make trading globally so much easier. And if you don't have contacts overseas, you don't have distributors overseas, you don't have marketing agencies overseas, you do not have any legal expertise overseas, you are going to run into a lot of trouble. And before even you go down to the country to start operation, you got to do all those pre-work first. And the Singapore government is really assisting you in doing that. Now you have also specialists like me, uh, specializing in taxation, who actually look at cross-border taxation and to ensure that you don't get into pitfalls into doing double taxation, and how you word your agreement, how you conduct your business, because not all contracts are the same. You got to speak to the lawyers, you got to speak to the accountants, you got to speak to the tax advisors to understand what sort of trading mechanism are you going to implement. By using a wrong by implementing a wrong strategy, what happens is that the tax that you're going to pay overseas may not be able to be claimed in Singapore, and whatever you pay in Singapore will never be claimed overseas. And you have to differentiate between taxes like tariffs, VAT, GST, corporate taxation, withholding taxes, stamp duties. These are all relevant tax issues that you're going to face. Sending your employees overseas or may also attract tax. Doing work in a country, even if you are not in that country itself, may attract taxation. So it's best that you speak to someone about it first. And as I can show you, you are also used to city life in Singapore, right? And then when you come overseas, and then suddenly you find yourself here, the weather is cold, the winds, you find mountains, huge birds, and a foreign language, you know. So so you got to really think about it. But this is a time for you to invest overseas, and if you don't, um, you're going to not you're not going to help your business that way. So it's time for us to gather. And if I talk about going overseas, going overseas doesn't mean you got to do it alone. You can always do it in a group. You can always talk to people in networks, right? So you can join business networks. You can, you know, you can even like reach out to friends, reach out to suppliers who may actually want to help you go to the country to do something to add value to the system. So, and even looking at what other countries are doing, um, they may actually, not they may, they actually have better trade practices. They may even have better way of doing things. Um, they face different issues in their countries and they have very resolved things that we will not know, that we are not being exposed to. So it's things like that we need to understand, that shows how important it is for us to try to find people to go in together. You can find like um, Taiwanese, Malaysians, Singaporeans in Singapore itself, and reach out to them and ask more about their country. Um, Maybe you think that you want to go to Malaysia to bring your products there, or maybe you think that you want to go to overseas like Korea, Japan, even the US, and bring the products into Singapore. But Singapore is always a very small market, so we need to think of how we can reach out, in fact, go overseas. So in Singapore, we don't have a big manufacturing base. I mean, we are not talking about like overseas investors coming in Singapore to invest in Singapore and they re-export out the goods. I'm talking about like ordinary businesses like us. So what can we do to actually export our services, export our goods overseas? What kind of value can we add to really products really made in, say, in Japan, in Korea, in the US? Will Singaporeans we always be just the middleman, not add value to the process, or maybe just to bring goods into Singapore and try to sell in Singapore, which is a very very small market, right? We are seeing retail shops just dying. We are seeing huge companies just who have for so long they were the conduit between the West uh, selling their goods in Singapore, and then now they are just gone. I mean, you look at Robinsons, you look at Isetan. Isetan is still there, but smaller operations. You look at BHG, um, Sogo also, right? So they are still Sogo is still overseas, operating overseas, but no longer in Singapore. Singapore is also reducing birth and Singapore also tightening controls on foreigners coming to Singapore, which means your market is getting smaller and smaller into Singapore. Um, so if you think about that, the market is not really growing in Singapore. What the market that is growing is actually the disposable income of people. So Singaporeans' income is getting higher. So which means they can not necessarily buy more goods, but buy better goods, buy more quality goods. So maybe that's where the direction is going. But even then, how many businesses can actually grow in such a market whereby there's a reducing population? Um, there is there's less and less business opportunities in Singapore, and we are going to be highly dependent on foreign investments into Singapore to invest to actually produce jobs for Singaporeans. So if we are always looking outwards to come in and we just hope that we can just find something without a deliberate plan, then we are actually jeopardizing our own business. So, like in my case, I went to Vietnam 3 years ago, visited the place. Only after about 1.5 years, I set up my own company in Vietnam. So we the first year we had no customers at all, right? Um, and then what happens is that we spend time there, reaching out to people, talking to people, and we not only talk to people in Vietnam because they won't trust us because we are a Singapore company. So basically, we actually reach out to to people in Singapore who can actually connect us with Vietnamese overseas. And we also reach out to Singaporeans who have businesses in Vietnam. So it's a long route. It's a long route, but why would I want to only concentrate on the Singapore market when I have an opportunity to go overseas and try to reach out to different markets? Is a long hard road to do it, but I think if I would just to make the business, just let the business just stay in Singapore, it's going to be very detrimental to my business and to talents that are going to join my company. Imagine um, your staff, or imagine the team, the people, the talents that you hire, and what they're going to do is that they are only going to service Singapore companies, and they are only going to grow as much as the Singapore market. Now, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. You can be very successful, you can make a lot of money in Singapore, but not forgetting that talents always want to work for MNCs. The reason why is exposure. So they want to expose to foreign markets. They want to be exposed overseas, not for holiday, but they want to go overseas. Why? Because it's a different culture, it's a different market, different taste. And when you look at all this, you form a different perspective of things. So talents would want to join companies with a global presence. And I believe that companies who explore overseas, who have this ideal, who have this desire, this goal to go overseas, you may be able to attract talents joining your company. Uh, they may join your company just because your company do have that kind of DNA, a very adventurous DNA. People, young people now may not want to join companies in which it's like, they're so fixed. They only want to get the bosses are only fixed in Singapore, and it's like fighting fire every day. So I think business owners like us need to look at how we can actually take our companies abroad. So the government incentives are there. MRA grants 70% off, 400% internationalization. Now, I think next question would be, many people be saying like, oh, well, it's good, right? 70%, 400%, but I still need to spend money first. So that's where it's important for you to do your numbers. Setting aside a fund for you to explore overseas, to go overseas, to spend the money to look at. I mean, there's no guarantee of return. There's never any guarantee in business. So you got to put aside some funds to do it. As an accountant, I would tell you not to borrow money to invest in such activities. And I would not want to tell people like, okay, like sell off your car, or maybe like don't go for holidays, but instead spend the money in looking for business opportunities overseas. But every business has a sacrifice. You got to sacrifice something. So if your company is really tight on budgets, I think it's good that you look at your accounts, you look at your financial reports, speak to your accountant, speak to your tax advisor, and look at your numbers and see maybe what can you do to put, not say cutting costs, but to reallocate your resources, to reallocate your costs, so that you can invest in 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 your business. So things like capitalization, like buying of machineries and all. So I think most Singapore companies are actually service oriented, right? So you don't make a lot of capital investments. So what you do is that you actually invest a lot in talent. You actually invest a lot in manpower. So you can maybe even consider, like, instead of hiring in Singapore, you actually hire people from overseas. Through some agencies, you can hire people to help you overseas. So let's say, for example, if you need some help in doing marketing, you don't have to do it only locally. You can actually do it overseas. you can actually use um, uh, agencies overseas to do your marketing, so these are little um, cost reallocation, and these are also trying to know more of the market. So let's say for example, if you have a someone with marketing talent, but the marketing is done in Singapore, yes, but the person has a different perspective to marketing, and you employ the person who's overseas. Now you are also now able to tap on to um, the person's talent in that market as well. So let's say for example, like marketing, right? You not only that person is doing marketing for Singapore, you can also now learn about marketing in that country. So there are many good talents in, say, for example, like Taiwan, in Malaysia, Hong Kong, China, Korea, or Japan. So you can actually reach out to these talents and expose yourself a little bit more to the overseas market. So this is just my take on it. So I just feel like Singaporeans may be thinking that the internationalization grants, the Americans may sound good, but is like Singapore business will be at a loss. Like, what can I do? What should I do? So, surprisingly, there are many people out there that can actually assist you. Business networks, you can talk to accountants who have overseas exposure. You can talk to tax advisors. You can talk to lawyers who have like overseas practices as well, and reach out to them. Everyone is very willing to speak to you about it. I have already spoken to so many businesses who are interested to go into Vietnam, to go in Taiwan, and Taiwan businesses coming to Singapore as well. So if we keep our options open, if um, we keep ourselves open to opportunities, refrain from being too Singaporean. In such, why do I say that? It's like um, Singaporeans are too competitive, are too isolated. So we tend to want to do everything ourselves. But what I found out, like about 2 to 3 years ago, was that no, I can't do things alone. I need to work with other accountants. I need to work with um, other businesses. I need to listen more. I need to work with others. And and it and and try not to be like too competitive, because growing up through the Singapore school system, we are always trying to outcompete our friends in since PSLE to O levels to A levels to universities. So we have always been competing against other Singaporeans. It's time for us to work together, like try to put down our 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 competitiveness with our own people, and work together and ask, be humble. So like I'm very open. Please make comments in the comment section. Please tell me more about your experience overseas. Please let me know what are the issues that you face when you're trying to go abroad, issues that you face in Singapore, trying to meet with people who may be able to assist you. So let's try not to outcompete each other. The world is getting smaller, but the world is getting more isolated. So, like office politics. Now the world is having this office politics. Cliques are being formed, and we need to form cliques. So, so we have to find our clique now. So let us try to help each other. So if you lasted till now, thank you for listening. And I wish you well in your journey. You can reach out to me through my LinkedIn or YouTube, and I'll reply to your comments. Thank you. Bye bye.